Why do you think the administration has been so reluctant to promote all the good things that have come from the stimulus?
They talk about the auto bailout, which was just as unpopular a while ago. They talk about Obamacare, which was also unpopular. You'll still never hear them say the S word. They do, though, talk about the tax cuts, the middle-class tax cuts that were in the stimulus, the expansion of Pell Grants that were in the stimulus, the expansion of renewable energy that was in the stimulus. I think the short answer is that stimulus has become toxic. You know, it's like even though in the same way that people complain about government, even though they like Social Security and Medicare and the national defense and the FBI and the other things that government does, in the same way they like unemployment benefits and wind power and aid to make sure that teachers don't get fired, that all the actual elements of the stimulus, but they don't like the stimulus. So I think sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I think it was because it didn't bring the unemployment rate down as they promised it would. Is that?
Well, it did bring the unemployment rate down almost exactly as they said it would. That sort of historic and historically stupid report that they put out in January 2009, before they even took office, actually, that forecast 8% unemployment if that unemployment would stay under 8% if the stimulus passed. And I tell the story of that report in kind of head exploding detail. But the main thing, what they got wrong was the baseline, right? They thought the economy was here and that the unemployment was here, and they thought the stimulus would bring it down to here. In fact, unemployment was here and the stimulus brought it down to here. Like they always say is, we got the delta right, which I always tell Jared Bernstein that they can put that on his tombstone. I got the delta right? The change in unemployment rather than the level of unemployment. I think that's a bad talking point for them. But the question of I always say, are you better off than you were 4 years ago is actually an easy question for them, because 4 years ago, the economy was in absolute free fall. And now it's just sort of meh, but that's a lot better than absolute free fall. I always say that Mitt Romney, if he was smart, instead of asking, are you better off than you were 4 years ago, he'd ask, how you doing, right? Because times are still tough. And I think that is, this was ultimately, it was a jobs bill that passed at a time when jobs were hemorrhaging. And even a $2 trillion stimulus would have become unpopular because of that. And then when you add in, the fact that they had just thrown $700 billion at the banks, the fact that Keynesian economics is sort of inherently kind of hard to understand, like really? Families and businesses are tightening our belts and you're throwing $800 billion of borrowed money into the economy. The fact that Republicans did a really good job of distorting it and making it sound like it was snowmaking machines in Duluth and sod on the mall and honeybee insurance, that Democrats didn't defend it, that they complained that it was too small or too many tax cuts or not shovel-ready enough, and that the media wasn't really interested in getting to the bottom of it, right? They really blew the story as badly as they blew the run-up to the war in Iraq.